Eddie.
All right. Well,
Looking good,
Eddie's
Eddie.
not going anywhere.
Good
Eddie's
night,
going to
Eddie.
close down. He's going to hover in the background. He's going to chime in whenever he feels like it. And so now, so now we got the unofficial session. We still got to be nice.
Jump off too, y'all. I got a bunch of stuff going on with the students tomorrow. We got a big field trip and everything. I got to get out of here and go get some things set up. But thanks for letting me demo tonight. It's
Okay,
always
Doug.
fun.
Hey, Doug,
Yeah.
thank you very much for coming through for me for a demo tonight. I've been having some cancellations and whatnot, so I've been trying to get some new folks in and whatnot, and it's just it's not going as smooth as I was hoping. So my normal demonstrators, be on the lookout for my text messages coming through, for filling out the rest of the demo slots for the rest of the month. And of course, y'all know that I appreciate it extremely, extremely much. And when I get back to Arizona, I will get in a couple demos myself. But I appreciate it. And I know the rest of the members, they appreciate it as well. Even if they don't post on the Facebook page, about how great the demo was, or they don't post enough about how great the demo was, but they definitely appreciate it. So I want you guys and gals to know that you're well wanted. Thank you, Doug. I appreciate it, buddy.
One quick apology before I go. I know there's some expectations when I show up with women's clothing, and I didn't have any tonight. So,
thank you. Well, especially when you were doing that dance.
Yeah, for anybody that was, I do have my Albert Einstein hair going on tonight, though. So I've got that.
There you go.
Great
All
job.
right.
Crazy hair.
I'll see y'all next week.
Good night,
Take
Doug.
care.
Right, thanks,
Good night,
Doug.
Doug.
Talk to you later, buddy.
That was
All
good
right.
night.
Martin, thank you for
No,
popping in and doing that quick anatomy of a tenon.
not a problem at all.
That's something that's very, very important. And last week, I did the anatomy of a properly made tenon as well. Where the tenon and the gripping power of the jaws, the wood is actually the force and the torque is still going into the walls of the vessel and not onto the little ring that a lot of folks are common, making the recess and then excavating everything out and around the sides of it. And then they wind up blowing out the recess.
Yeah.
Actually, I still got it here. Let me go back to myself again. Let's see. Guess I need to close down the piston screen so I can see myself.
Yeah, perfect example. Perfect
Example of a recess.
Yeah,
The holding power from your jaws is down here, and the material of the vessel is in line with the torque coming out on both ends, not like this. This is wrong.
Exactly.
When you have your recess ring up here, oh, it's a nice big thick ring. You can make that thing an inch thick. You're going to blow it out every time because there's nothing supporting the torque power.
Nope.
That's going against the vessel when you're excavating it.
Yeah, well, lots of people don't see that, Dane.
No. It's a learned and hearing thing, and making the recess like that. I don't think there's a lot of information out there on how to make a proper recess.
No,
I love making a recess on a bowl, but
I see so
I
many
like
people.
heavy bowls too, because you gotta make a thick bottom to do it.
Well, that's not necessarily true. You know, the majority of the time on a platter, a recess is done. So what's the difference between a platter and a bowl? Width, the overall depth. You still got consistency coming through.
I think a lot of people
A
prefer the
lot of folks make decorative platters that are thick, but a functional platter or a plate that's actually used that has a recess. You know, it's still you don't want a big clunky thick walled plate, that a person's actually using.
I think a lot of people prefer a tenon, Dane, because they probably feel like it holds better,
Right.
and they can turn it off afterwards. So they haven't got that great clump at the bottom, or they haven't got the hole in the bowl, or they're a lot more the feeling of it being held better.
Sure.
Lots of people, but if you might think it's held better, but with a badly made tenon, that cross grain will just come straight off.
It will snap off.
It is like a knife through butter. The minute you get the smallest of catch, it will just snap that end grain straight away. Snap that side grain straight off.
It sure will. Yes, sir.
I got a picture here. I don't know if you can see it, but this is how I was taught on how to go ahead and make a tenon. Can you see it?
Yeah, I will be in a minute.
Spotlighted here. I got you.
Yeah, well, what you've got there is exactly what I was describing with the way that the chucking point is cut on the bowl. You've left sufficient for the chuck to hold flat against the bottom of the bowl there.
Right.
For a tenon.
So what you've got the step at the bottom where the tenon is, then you've got the flat. And that's why with an internal you will use less timber. So depending on the size of your bowl would depend on how big or how small that holding point was going to be.
Right.
Because what you've done there is totally correct. It is the right way of creating a tenon on the bottom of the bowl.
For a tenon.
What people are doing is they are bringing that curve straight down to the tenon.
Right.
And by bringing it straight down to the tenon, you're weakening the tenon. And that's when it snaps away on the side grain. So
Right, because it doesn't have the support here.
No.
Okay.
Yep.
With
That's
that
for a
step
tenon.
you created there.
And so it's what I was talking about was a recess.
Yes.
Right. No, I understand, because I've
Got
had
it,
trouble
But-
with a recess before, and I don't care for them.
Yeah, well, what we've just had there is two of the perfect examples. And it's just a shame that it's at this point and there wasn't 70 people still here, Dane, because what you've just done is you have created the perfect tenon and the perfect recess. And there's only 33 of us know about it now.
Well, I showed the anatomy of it last week at the end of the meeting. But now that I'm thinking about it, and then for those that were still on.
Well, I think, honestly, Dane, I think you and I think Dennis, you've both done the drawings, should go through that, even if it's next week, to make sure that all the new guys understand why they create the points like that.
Right.
Okay, well, I'm relatively.
I personally think that there is can't say. Yeah, I'm going to say there is experienced turners that do not create what you two have just shown because they don't know about it, because nobody talks about it.
Right. I do have a question though.
Go on.
Where is it here? How come it's not showing up?
No,
There we go.
now it
There
is.
you go.
Okay. How deep should your tenon be?
Right,
I know you're talking about not bottoming out.
that's the only rule. That is the only rule. That
As long as it
tenon
don't bottom
can't
out.
touch the bottom of your jaws. Other than that, it's whatever you feel you're happy with.
Okay,
A bowl of 3 or 4 inch, 5 inch, 6 inch, you could probably hold on what? 5
Anywhere
mil-
from an 1/8 of an inch,
Yeah.
okay.
1/8 inch plus.
Once you start getting the 16-inch bowls, I would probably put something on around about the 1/2 inch.
Yeah.
If you've got enough base on your
If you got it.
on your jaws.
If you
Okay,
have a chuck for that size. Yep.
Just work
Right.
on your chuck jaws. Some of them use what's called shark jaws. They're about 1.5 inches, 2 inches deep. And if you've got a great big lump on there that you're really going to hog out, a big 4-inch set of shark jaws that are 2 inches deep, you can put a tenon on the bottom of it that's 2 inches long and still hold it nice and secure. But it
okay.
is really determined by the length of your jaws and what you feel comfortable with.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then even if you
My
got a big
personal
chuck like that,
preference is I
Go
go
ahead,
with the
Trey.
tenon instead of the other because it's just my eye as I've seen the curve go around, the tenon seems to support me better. Otherwise I get too thin in the bottom.
Yeah, I
But
had,
that's just me. It may just be me, but I thin out the bottom too much when I expand, do an expansion in there
Yeah.
versus the tenon. So
yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't matter, Trey. It becomes wall art.
yeah,
Yeah,
I had,
then you ju-
when I
then you
first
just dot,
started,
then you just dot paint it.
when I first started back, I did the recess and the bowl cracked. And I just didn't like it because you didn't have enough support. You know, it was a piece of oak and it cracked, so I just assumed use a tenon. I think it's much safer, but teach his own.
With a recess, you have to leave enough margin outside that recess to support those jaws expanding.
Right,
No,
Yeah,
it's
that's it.
no,
That's-
it's not on the outside of the recess. It's
Inside the bowl.
it's on the inside that torque and that pressure is extending through the vessel wall that is not being excavated.
right.
Yeah.
You've already done the outside. It's not the thickness. You can make it 2 inches and you can expand into it. You're still 9 times out of 10, you're going to break it, or you're just going to get lucky that it didn't break.
Yeah. But it's interesting talking about different woods. That big bowl I showed you, Dane, it's like 14 inches in diameter and it's about 8 inches deep. So I hogged it out and it walked a lot. But it's interesting on how you guys are taking them down to a thin, you know, working it to a finish
Right.
and then let it walk. But
It,
I gotta
Dennis,
commend,
Dennis, it will come. It will come to you. It will come to you, and then that light bulb is going to go on, and you're going to be like, "Oh my God, why wasn't I doing this all the time?" And you're going to get there.
no, I know, but
You don't have to get it really thin, Dennis. As long as your wall thickness, as long as you've got a continuous thickness, you can leave it 1 inch thick. It will make absolutely no difference.
right, no, I found that because I left it, it was 1 inch thick.
It's
You know,
when
it'll
you've got
walk.
it's when you've got 2 inches at the bottom and 1 inch up the walls. You're going to get cracking and you're going to get huge warping because there's too much in the bottom and not enough in the
Yeah,
wall.
well, I learned that tonight. I learned that because I left too much at the bottom and it was checking some, but it's still salvageable. No, I just like to commend everybody since I've been watching this for a couple months now, or however long I've been doing it, for the knowledge and how much I've learned. Appreciate it. It's been really enlightening, really. So,
We all learn, we all appreciate it.
I know
That's the
that, but
idea
I'm
of
just-
coming to groups like this because
From an-
everybody
from a new,
can learn
from a
from everybody
new-
else. The amount of times I sit in my chair thinking, why haven't I done that? You know, that seemed a stupid idea, but actually that's really clever. Why haven't I done that?
Yeah.
You know, or I didn't think of that. You know, the man put a clip on his pencil.
Yeah.
Well, what a
Right.
clever idea. I mean, I drill a hole in, I
Brilliant.
should magnet into most of them so that they're hanging on the bandsaw. But having a clip would be so much easier because I've got screws all over the wall where I hang everything else. I could clip my pencil up there as well. You know, so even tonight, you pick something else up and you think, well, that's a way of doing that.
You know, we talk about thickness of bowls. You look at antique bowls in a antique shop. The average thickness is 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch thick all the way through. You don't
Yeah.
find thin bowls. I mean,
I
they
don't
just don't hold up.
I don't make a lot of bowls. Most of what I do is spindle work. The only time I make a bowl is often if I've got a piece of wood where I think it's just too nice to cut into bits. You know, and sometimes I regret that decision because I find it in England a lot harder to sell a bowl than I do some of my smaller items. So I can turn that piece of wood over a lot quicker. But every now and again, I will make a bowl. But I also find that the first thing people do is they pick it up and they see value in the weight. And if it is paper thin and there's no weight, they seem to think it's cheap. So
Yeah.
I like to leave a bit of weight amongst my bowls. So, you know, quite often mine are 1/2 inch thick. In fact, I've got a burr bowl that I've just finished, and that's nearly 1 inch thick, right the way through.
Yeah, people see that the thinness is too fragile. They're scared to touch it, scared to use it. I agree.
Right.
Again, there's
Unless,
different.
unless it's dense woods.
Yeah, and also you've got to have, you know, there is an artistic approach against this, and if you're creating something that is really artistic, it needs to be delicate. It doesn't want to be thick and chunky. If you're making something that's quite practical,
Yeah, and that argument goes through everything. I mean, I use that same argument when we're talking about making boxes.
Yep.
You know, if you're making a box for other turners, you make it delicate with a piston finish or a tight fit. You know, you want that pop. If you're making it for practical people, for anybody else, for a craft fair or an art fair, you make it the top a little loose so it's easy to open and close.
Yep.
And then they'll use it and buy it. If it's too tight and too thin, they won't buy it. So
no.
Well, you don't want to make them too tight because the humidity is going to be different, you know, even within a household. Even
Now-
in the same area, the humidity is going to be different, and it could cause movement based upon the wood species or how it's finished.
oh yeah, very true. Yeah, I made a box once that moved a little bit, and if you put the top in one way, it was almost rattling loose, and if you turned it a quarter turn, it locked.
Yeah, it's called a lock lid.
Yeah.
One of the other items that I see at craft fairs quite a lot, and probably numerous of you will have made them, is the honey dippers. You know, the honey dippers that you pop in your honey pot and take your honey out?
Yes.
Yeah,
They're a great practical item, and most turners turn them. And what they do is they get their bit of spindle and they turn the round bit at the end, and then they go in with a parting tool and they just part the ridges. And then they finish them off and they pop them in a pot and they sell them all at craft fairs. And I often say to people, have you ever tried one of them? Have you made a honey dipper and tried one? And most of them would say, no, never tried it, because they don't work. When you cut grooves in with your parting tool, it holds the honey, it doesn't drop the honey. So a honey dipper should be sliced. You know, when you make something, try it, see if it works. If it doesn't work, don't bloody make it.
Tell me more about that, about the honey dipper and the slicing. What do you mean by
Try it.
slicing?
say I've ever made one.
What I tend to do is I put slices. I might have one. I will head to my store and see if I've got one. But what I do is I create a slice. So instead of going, you can go in with your parting tool, but you've got to pull it back on itself. So go in with your skew and create almost like a Christmas tree effect through the honey dipper to allow the
Okay.
honey to run back off.
That makes good sense.
Try making 2 of them, pop them into your honey pot, pull them out and see which one works and which one doesn't.
I have a quart jar of honey that's begging for that experiment.
There you are. Try the experiment. But yeah, the pattern tool honey dippers tend not to work.
That's fascinating. I always wondered about that.
China makes hundreds of thousands of them that don't work every year.
So are they,
Guys,
Martin, do you have
Hey.
one of those you can show?
I will go and have a look and see if I've got one.
All right, well, Martin's looking for a honey dipper. I want to do a couple connection checks here. We got Tim and Joaquin that want to check out their connection speeds and whatnot. So we're going to go to Tim here first and see how he's doing. Tim,
You got me in the on the shop computer there, Dane. On the shop computer.
Yep,
Should
getting
be.
there.
All right. So anyway, I bought a little webcam and hooked it up to my little arm there that I bought for my Amazon Fire, and I just want to see if this is going to work. Then maybe I can do a video or two, or I can
Okay.
possibly do a demo. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna swap cameras
concentrate on
now. And
demo.
make sure everybody can see it.
Are you
Okay.
swapping it in Zoom? Is that what you're
I'm
just?
swapping it in Zoom right now, so I can
Okay,
see it
so
on
we
my
see-
end. Can you see it on
Yeah.
your?
Yes.
We see it.
So move your hand through the frame. Let's see if there's any judder or anything. Do something on the frame so we can see what we're.
Yeah, pop your hand in and out, up and down, side to side.
All right. Well, that's pretty smooth. I think it's a good.
Yeah, it
Yeah, I
looks
think it
good.
looks all right.
Little washed out on the lighting, but that happens a lot.
It may be a
Yeah,
little
that's
too
our
close.
lighting. Got to be
Maybe
able to
too
see.
close.
Is that lighting better?
Yes.
Yes.
No, the lighting's fine, Tim. We can, we can always work through it. We got to be able to see when we're turning. So
Right. So I'm gonna turn the lathe on real quick. Make 2 quick.
So what's
cuts.
the
just to
vibration from? What's the wobble from?
One more time?
What's the wobble
Camera
from?
arm.
Is there a
The
little
camera-
vibration?
The camera may be too close.
There's
I'm
like
not
a
sure. Could be from the. Yeah, it could be from the camera extension that I have on.
yeah, it's the camera extension from where you moved it.
Okay.
Okay.
hang on a second. See if we can. If I can figure that part out. I may end up having to build something like, like Matt rigged up there just to keep it a little more stable.
cool.
Okay. So 12 gauge wire or a coat hanger works really well on stabilizing those, Matt.
Is-
Tim.
Do you have it, do you have it attached to the lathe or is it independent?
Say again?
Is it attached to the lathe or is it independent?
No, it's actually attached to a shelf above the lathe. So
Okay,
it's not on the lathe bed.
okay, because if you attach it
when
to
the
the lathe,
lathe-
you'll start getting a vibration from the lathe.
Yeah, no, it's not on the lathe, but I did want to just cut a couple quick cuts just to see if you're seeing the right direction and all that other happy. So
It
Oh,
looks
yeah.
like it's too close.
Your tool rest is too
Direction,
close,
that
that's for
helps.
sure. Sounds
I was
like
going to
it's,
say that's in
sounds like you're
reverse.
hey, look at Tim. Sign him up.
Better sign them up, Dane.
Yep, I'm going to.
It'll work for, I think, what we need
that'll-
then.
Tim, that'll work for us. We just got to adjust the camera height and the camera angle. But, aside from that, the video is coming through perfect.
Yeah.
The quality, there's no lag on it. Your internet speed appears, super fine. No issue.
Okay.
And your
Yeah,
audio,
I just got the friggin' fiber optic out here at the house. That's what
Nice.
another thing I was waiting on. So
There you go.
Is
Done.
that Chuck new? It's really shiny.
One more time.
Ah,
I'm sorry, Matt.
Is
I
the
don't have my
Chuck
hearing
new?
aids
It looks really shiny.
in. Yeah, that's a new Chuck with my new lathe that I haven't really been using because, I've been recovering. So,
Gotcha.
but okay. Well, if
hell yeah, Tim.
that works,
Yeah, I tell you,
Dane, I
if-
just need to get with you if you still got that microphone.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, absolutely. Once I get back to Arizona, I'll send that off to you.
All right. Yeah, and
If
we'll
you-
talk
Absolutely.
about what you want, man. I got some Osage and some walnut burl and some other stuff we can talk about. So
if
Okay.
you don't want to
Yeah,
go
that'll
through the trouble of making an articulated arm and getting kind of crazy, frankly, a 19-inch gooseneck on top of a simple tripod worked really well for one of my cameras.
well, I
So-
was expecting, I have a tripod. I was expecting this USB camera because I asked the guy at Best Buy, does it have a friggin', does it have a screw mount for a tripod? Oh yeah, it does. Well, I didn't open the box like a dumbass. So my fault,
No worries.
but
That's why they
but,
make clamps, man.
That's why I just rigged this up this afternoon, just to check it out. But hey, I appreciate it. And
No,
Dane, we'll get me in the
Yeah,
lineup
yep.
between friggin' National Guard training and all the other happy
Yeah.
crap I did.
Yeah, you know what? I'll probably give you a call this weekend.
Okay. Yeah,
We'll touch base on
I think you got my
everything, you know.
number. I think it was.
Yeah. Yep. I got it plugged in my phone. Yep.
All right.
We're good.
Sounds
Thanks,
good, man.
buddy.
All right.
Outstanding.
Hey, I
All right,
gotta
thanks,
pop
sir.
smoke because I gotta work in the morning, but great demo, if Doug's still on, and thanks for all the info.
Sounds good. All right. Well, I'm going to do Joaquin next, but Joaquin, man, you're on here twice underneath the same name.
Bye,
Yeah.
Tim.
Well, I got the computer on in the house and I got my phone out here in the shop.
Well, I guess I'll.
There you go.
I got picked. See, I'm good. I know which one to pick. How about that?
But I've always had a dead spot here where the lathe is. And I know one time me and Doug got together and he couldn't hear and I had to go in the house and do our talking and discussing. So I've got Terry and some other guys here that like they not able to do demos. And I thought, well, maybe we can do it at my house. And
Right.
I'm like Tim, I just got the fiber optics and high speed. And before I was having all kind of problems getting signals and stuff out here, and so I haven't done this on Zoom yet. This will be the first time. And so
Look good.
You
Look
look
good.
and
Sound
sound
good.
good to me.
Seems to be coming in pretty good. Yeah.
yeah. And the
Yeah.
picture pretty good there.
Yes,
Oh,
it
Yeah, the
is.
picture's great. Yeah. Heck, you look like you lost weight too. Must be something in those cameras down there. It must be at high fiber optic.
I don't know how that
Yeah,
could be.
fiber optic.
I went to Austin for my granddaughter's shower. Although while they went to the shower, me and my son, have you heard of barbecue hopping? I've heard of bar hopping, but I never heard of barbecue hopping.
Yes,
Sounds like
I
a
have
good
done
thing.
that. I have done that in Austin, Joaquin. Yes.
Yeah, we went to Lufkin and went to all them places there. We
Oh,
had to
Yeah, they-
throw in the towel after
Yeah,
the
they
third
do.
one,
They
though.
do
We
that
didn't
in
make it
St.
to a
Louis,
fourth one.
Missouri too. They've been doing that for eons.
well, I missed that,
Yeah.
man. There's some great barbecue in Austin.
And
You didn't have
Yeah, I miss
barbecue
absolutely.
in Lockhart,
I miss
Texas.
good barbecue. Period. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Man.
blacks and Perry Blacks and Smitty's and yeah. So there's three more there. When we go back, we can try them out.
There you go.
So
There you go.
there's
My
no
favorite
breakout
was-
in sound or anything.
No,
Huh?
it looks good. No,
Looks
spin the
great.
lathe up. Spin
My
the
favorite
lathe
was
up.
Pokey Joe's.
Yeah, it's perfect. There's no lag.
Okay.
That's coming across real good, Joaquin.
I'll have to. We'll have to schedule something later on.
Okay,
and
I'll be
something.
right on. I'll be in touch, man. That's awesome. You know,
Your
I
noise
had,
cancellation's
so I
working
had,
good too.
I had 5 new folks drop out, and look at here, I got 2 new ones coming in. This is awesome.
Yeah, I can probably get Terry to do something over here. I don't know if he can get out
Okay.
at night like this late though.
Okay,
Or
well,
Yeah.
we'll figure it out.
okay.
Sounds
All
good.
right, I'm
Thank you,
gonna-
sir.
Yeah,
I'm
this
gonna
will,
leave
this will
this
work,
and go back
Joaquin. Yeah.
inside.
All right.
Okay, Joaquin.
Thank you,
I
Joaquin.
appreciate it. How about that? All right, so let's go back to Honey Dipper. All right. Oh, Martin, you still there?
I don't see him.
There, but
He's still on the list.
Yeah, he's on the
there he
list,
is.
but I can't.
There he is.
There he is.
I got
There
him.
he is.
Got him. I'm down.
Couldn't find one, so I made one.
Yeah. See how easy it was. There we go.
Fascinating. Okay. All right. All right.
Round it instead of, plunging in with your 8-inch
Yeah.
parting tool or your super. What'd you do?
So they're just slanting in. You do that with the
Yeah,
skew.
basically all you've got is
I've never made one.
create the shape that you're wanting to create at the end, and then
Yep.
put a series of beads in rather than your
Yep, beads.
sliced cuts.
Gotcha.
So all you're doing is you're just, I mean, I've just used my skew on this, all of it. So literally I just had to find a piece of boxwood, skewed along the length, created the little bit of a bubble. I haven't got as much of a bubble as I would normally have because I could only find a tiny bit of boxwood. I tend to make them out of boxwood, or anything with a tight grain. Sycamore, you guys get, what do you call it? Maple over there.
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
maple and cherry. Cherry makes
Yeah,
nice ones.
Maple's really good for it, like our
sycamore.
sycamore. So it tends to be quite a cheap wood, and normally you'd get a little bit more of a bulbous down the bottom here. But what you're doing is you're creating a series of beads that will allow it to run off. So it doesn't hold it in place. It will take it, swirl it, it'll keep hold of it, and then it'll allow it to run back off.
And you're rounding the tops of your beads too, right?
Yeah,
Just like normal.
effectively, yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
bead.
You don't need a perfect bead. It just wants to be a curve. So all that I've done is I've gone in like this with a skew chisel and then back out the other side. So cut in each time and then turn around and cut in each time, which creates a bead on the top rather than a straight cut.
Right.
And that's all it is.
Makes
There's
sense.
nothing complicated about it. But you try this and try your normal part and cut, and you will see such a difference between the two of them.
I bet so.
Thank you, Martin.
Makes-
That's very useful.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense.
Yep.
And that
Good.
bloody
Now
ball
maybe-
I was telling you
Just now
about,
I can make me some honey dippers.
that's that one.
Look at there.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Ooh, what's that?
Beautiful piece of wood.
Well, it's not 1/8 of an inch.
Right?
Thank you very much.
Hey, Mr. I turned my stuff at 1/8 of an inch. It's been recorded.
Yeah. Make sure you cut all that out.
No,
It's after the meeting now.
This ain't being recorded. No, this is centered back at Matt, because earlier during the recorded program, he talked about how he made his walls 1/8 of an inch.
This is
only
being
the
recorded.
wet ones and only the ones I was finished turning.
Uh-huh.
And it's usually
All right.
natural edge or
Pick
burl
a
or
hill.
something.
Pick a hill and defend it, brother.
That's right, man. Well,
Right.
in all honesty, those goblets that I make that I turn wet, they're translucent. You can see light through them.
Yeah.
So,
I know, but I mean,
Sure,
like I said, let's not bend back and forth saying we do one thing and then say later on we don't do it. So
well, but you're right. I mean, there's a
Okay.
time and everybody
Yep.
here has
No,
said the
it's-
same
no,
thing.
It's all good. No, it's all good. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a time to turn thin and wet and let things
You're
warp and
absolutely
move. And,
correct.
yep.
The wood dictates how you're going to make it.
No, it
Yep.
bloody does not.
The
You
wood.
dictate what you're gonna make. God, that, that, it, 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 it winds me every time I hear somebody say, well, I went to my lathe with this piece of wood and it told me what it wanted to be. Oh my God. You don't go across and have a look at the saw and say to yourself, what would you like to cut today? The saw told me what shape that needed to be. The lathe's a tool. We need to tell it what we want it to do, not the other way around. Lumps of wood dictating what they want to be. Firewood.
That's right. That's a great way to get yourself hurt.
Bloody firewood.
I wish you'd have that conversation with Jamie Page.
Oh. You know,
Well, in all fairness, in the last 2 weeks, I've turned at least 4 things that are like 3/16 of an inch thick or so on, and I've turned at least 4 things that are half an inch thick. So, you know, I'm making both. So, and some of them are wet and some of them weren't, and it doesn't matter.
Well, guys, I'm going to say goodnight. So good night, all.
Good night, Sue.
Good night, Sue.
Take care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
I think I'm out of here too. I've got a bed calling my name.
Uh-oh.
my bed should be calling my name more than
All right,
yours.
good night, Matt.
Not last
Hey,
three, yeah?
Look for
Thanks,
my text,
thanks for
Matt.
everything, everybody. Thanks for running things, and I really appreciate the info on the Hunt Dippers and seeing everybody's work tonight. It was good stuff, and I appreciate the demo. It was very good.
You're available for demos in June, right?
June, the third week in June. Let's see, the 20th through 25th is Ron Campbell's. I am not available that week.
Right.
I may
May, right?
live stream. I may live stream Wednesday night from Ron Campbell's with Rebecca DeGroot and Sammy Long and whoever else is there. Janice Levy, Sally Alt, Jeff Hornung, whoever else makes it.
All right.
Great bunch of
look for
people,
my text.
but
We'll be in touch, so we'll figure something
yeah,
out.
I might live stream from dinner from Ron's backyard because the internet out in the barn isn't very good. But at the meeting, but Ron has got a collection of wood turnings in his house that's just utterly amazing. So it's worth looking at. And you've seen all the birds and stuff he's been doing lately, haven't you?
He's been putting out a ton of stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I'm involved in the Ron Campbell's Hands-On Retreat is coming up in third week in June. So I've been teaching there since the beginning. So I've been involved with helping organize classes, and we're adding last minute stuff and so on. So I was talking to Tom Hale, who's one of the organizers, and he says, yeah, I've been really having a real lot of problems getting Ron on the horn because he's in the shop making birds all the time, and I can't get him out of the shop to help organize Campbell's retreat. So, but he's selling them, so why not, right? So
yeah, I was a little surprised. I've asked him about 3 times for information. I've yet to hear a word from him.
Doug, I will see if you're interested. I will email you stuff because
I can't do it now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
We'd love to have
way
you.
back when he first said that. It's open now. Ask for information, and I did 3 times. I never have heard anything.
He's hard to stay consistent. That's for sure.
Yeah. Probably has in way too many things.
Yeah, and we had somebody else who was going to take over the organization of it this year, and they bailed on us mid-year, and so
that didn't help.
Yeah, so it's really an awful lot of work. Both Ron and his wife are not in the healthiest of conditions, and they've got medical issues, and so it's a lot comes down on them, and they really need, he's willing to offer the property if for use if somebody else takes over most of the work. And that's why getting somebody to do it last year was a big thing, because it meant it would go on. But he's talking about folding the tents again after this one. So I don't know, we'll see. But
well, maybe somebody will step up and do the organizing.
Yeah, well, my club is very interested in helping keeping it going. So we're talking about a lot of different things, like maybe moving it around to a different area of the state, just making it like a Michigan hands-on retreat. And I mean, there's 11 wood turning clubs in Michigan, all corners of the state. So, if we moved it, we got people here in my club with the kind of property who could take on something like that.
Sure.
So,
You say that, you mean Detroit area?
yeah.
Okay.
So my club is 140 members. It's fairly robust. We got a high participation rate. It's dynamic. So, and a lot of people in my club have gone to the hands-on retreat in Ron's on the other side of the state and really find a lot of value in it. And I think it's huge. And, if I can help it keep going, I don't care what it takes. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah,
Plus, if it's here in the area, I don't have to find a place to stay.
There you go.
So, but the clubs all see value in it. Both the clubs over there and the clubs here and the clubs up north and so on. So, we'll see what we can do. I mean, it pulls people from all over the country and from Canada to come in and teach. So, it's a great event. So,
if it's going to go on, I'd love to get some information as soon as possible about next year.
Okay, I don't know when it is, but I will forward things to you, and I will make a note to that effect.
Cool. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, we'd love to have you as a teacher, Doug, if that's what you want to do.
Teach, participate, both and.
Yeah. I told them, because they tend to work me pretty hard. I told them, look, I don't want to do 4 rotations, which is how many they have. I don't in a day. I don't want to do 4 rotations. I don't want to teach all day. I want at least 1 hour, 1 2-hour stint free so I can take somebody else's class.
There you go. Sure. Yeah.
So and last year, that's where I picked up the dot painting, and I love that.
Right.
Yeah. So one of the ladies there was teaching, Cindy Burns was teaching it off lathe. And I was like, look, man, I really want to take this class. And she said, well, we'll move it to an open spot for you. And I said, great. And there was 5 people in the class. So it was great. I was stoked.
Good.
Yeah, it was a well done class. And it was, you guys have seen where I've taken it. So, but yeah, it's a great event. And nailing Ron down is difficult. So, and it's even worse this year because the whole bird thing is he can't make them fast enough. That's how fast they're selling. So
very good. Very good.
Yeah. So they're trying to, we've been talking about, they're trying to rope me into teaching. They want to teach that at this year's retreat, but it's really like a sort of a 3-stage process. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into it. And I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, these birds that Ron Campbell's making.
Yeah, I've seen them.
But they're all right, well, not everybody has, but they're turned and then they're cut like Rebecca DeGroot's legs are cut and remade, and then they're carved so they're smooth. And then he decorates them and dry brushes them and paints them and so on. So there's wood burning, there's carving, there's turning, there's all kinds of stuff going on. Goodness. So they're trying to get me into teaching a section of that, which I said I'd happily do, even though I've never made one. So
yeah, but it's just turning a long cone, right?
Essentially, but
yeah,
like Rebecca DeGroot's legs, there's more to it than that.
Right.
So there's sections where you want bulges and sections where you want it's a slender and so on. And I was talking to Ron about this, and he says, well, one of the games with this is to you make it. So he says, you've got to kind of look at birds and see how they compose themselves when they're sitting down. So that was an interesting perspective too. So.
Yeah, Michael Hasselot has a video on that, a CD. I assisted him in Atlanta, and he was doing that. I was telling Ron about it, and it's pretty incredible. You got to think way ahead when you make them cuts.
Yeah, I'll look that up if Hasselot is doing it. He's amazing work. Thanks, Joaquin.
He's got a CD that has about 5 different projects on it. Let's see, I ought to have it around here. And you're right, he does crazy stuff. When I was his assistant, he says, I don't believe an assistant's sitting around. And he worked, sent me back and forth to the tool room, and
He put you to work, did he?
Yes, he did. This is the one. I don't know whether you can,
Pull it towards yourself a little bit. There you go.
yeah,
The art of hustle luck in wood turning.
yeah.
Cool.
Cool. Thank you.
You betcha. There's 2 discs in it. He's got 12 projects, no, 17 projects on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
He does some cool stuff.
Yeah.